So in India, something pretty remarkable just happened. You've got a group of the country's most senior, most respected former officials who did something almost unheard of. They wrote a public letter calling out a top political leader. Now, this isn't just your everyday political squabble. It's a much bigger story about trust, about power, and about what happens when the longtime guardians of a democracy feel like they have to sound the alarm.
And it all kicks off with this one number, 272. You might be asking, 272 what? Well, that's how many of India's most eminent public figures decided together that they just couldn't stay silent any longer. And we're not talking about your usual commentators or activists here. No, these are the people who, for decades, were the very backbone of the Indian state. I mean, think about it. Retired Supreme Court judges, the folks who had the final say on the law. You've got former intelligence chiefs who guarded the nation's secrets, and decorated generals who led the military. They spent their entire lives inside these institutions.
Which brings us to the big question, right? What on earth could possibly motivate this particular group, these ultimate insiders, to put their names on a single public letter and wade right into a political firestorm? Okay, let's unpack it. First off, let's just take a second to understand the sheer weight behind this letter. This is not some standard press release. You could almost call it a formal statement from the institutional memory of the entire country. I mean, just look at the experience on this list. You have people who upheld the law from the nation's highest courts, people who managed national security from behind the scenes, and people who commanded troops on the front lines. So when they all signed something together, it's not just a collection of names. It's a message designed to carry some serious institutional authority.
And this gets us right to their core message. They're not arguing about a specific tax policy or infrastructure project. Their concern is much, much broader. They're warning about what they call a dangerous trend, a relentless attack on the very pillars of the state itself, from the courts all the way to the Election Commission.
So, what was the specific spark that lit this fire? Well, the letter points directly at a series of very serious allegations made by Congress MP Rahul Gandhi.
During some recent state elections, the accusations leveled against India's Election Commission got incredibly sharp, and the claims were just huge. We're talking about accusations of vote chori, which means vote theft, even allegations of treason. Then there were claims of having 100% proof, an atom bomb of proof, they called it, and threats to pursue officials even after they retired. The language was absolutely explosive. But here's where the letter's authors make their first major point. For all that explosive rhetoric, the talk of treason and atom bombs, they highlight one crucial detail. No formal complaint was ever lodged. No one ever took these claims to court. And for these 272 signatories, that gap, the one between the fiery words and the lack of real action, well, that's everything. This brings us straight to the heart of the letter's argument. They're not just refuting the claims, they're accusing the critics of something they call selective outrage. The idea being that this criticism isn't about a genuine concern for institutions, but something else entirely. So you can really see two competing narratives clash here. On one side, you have the political criticism, which says the Election Commission is biased, it's manipulating voter lists, it's basically acting as the B team of the BJP. But then you have the letter's argument, which says, hang on a second, this outrage only seems to flare up right after an election result you don't like. They're calling it opportunism, not a principled stand. And here they spell it out plain and simple. The letter argues that blaming the referee, in this case, the Election Commission, is a political tactic. It's a way to reframe a loss, to make it seem like it wasn't because of a flawed strategy, but because you were the victim of a grand conspiracy. Then the letter zooms out. It argues that this whole episode with the Election Commission isn't just a one-off event. They claim it's actually the latest chapter in a longer, more sustained campaign to systematically undermine public faith, one key institution after another. And the signatories lay out what they see as a deliberate pattern. They say, look, first the target was the credibility of the armed forces. Then it was the judiciary with allegations of bias. After that, Parliament and other constitutional bodies. And now, they say, the crosshairs have landed on the Election Commission. For them, this isn't random. It's a clear and, in their view, destructive pattern. Okay, so you might be thinking, a war of words between some politicians and retired officials? Why does that really matter to the rest of us? Well, the letter argues the stakes couldn't possibly be higher. Because this is the long-term danger they're warning about. If the public starts to believe that every election is rigged, that every court is biased, that every major institution is compromised, then the very foundation of public trust just starts to crumble. The legitimacy of the entire democratic system is put at risk. But the letter doesn't just criticize. It actually ends with an appeal. It's a call for fundamental change in political culture. They're asking leaders to shift the focus away from conspiracy theories and onto policy debates, and to respect the democratic verdict, whether you win or lose.
And all of this leaves us with a final, critical question. This whole affair highlights a tension that's right at the heart of any democracy. You have this constant battle between fierce political competition on one side and the stable institutions that make that competition possible on the other. So, what's the ultimate price we all pay if that balance is lost?